Let's go.
You're listening to Making Data Simple, where we make the world of data effortless, relevant, and yes, even fun.
Hey folks, welcome to Making Data Simple. I hope you're doing extremely well today. Today I have a distinguished guest, Milan Shetti, who's the president of Rocket Software in the Z Systems business unit, is here with me. So we're going to talk about what it means when we say legacy powers legendary. I hope you recognize that line. Rocket has deep expertise in IBM Z, IBM Power, database, and connectivity solutions. As you know, 70% of the world's IT workload is running on Z. Rocket claims 44 of the top Fortune 50 clients, and those clients include banking and finance, healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, logistics, retail, insurance. Rocket is now a Bain Capital portfolio company. It is headquartered in the Boston area and with centers of excellence, I think, everywhere, like North America, Europe, Asia, Australia. Milan, welcome. Welcome to the show, man. How you been?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on your show, Al. I'm really looking forward to this podcast.
Well, let's see if you say that at the end. You never know what can happen. All right, look, let's start by, you're not really new to Rocket Software. I mean, I think you've been there at least a year. Tell us a little bit about your background, what brought you to Rocket, and where you're at now, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. So I joined Rocket a year ago. I came from HP. I ran the storage business. I was the general manager for storage business, 6,000 people, $6 billion company, so things at scale. I was there at HP for about 10 and a half years. Before that, I did a startup. I was the CEO of a startup at the time of its acquisition by HP. It was in a file system space. And before that, I started my career at Sun Microsystems, and educationally, I do have a doctorate in machine learning. It turns out to be very relevant in today's world.
I spoke not too long ago with Andy Sunis, who was the founder and CEO of Rocket Software. Would you kick him out?
Andy is the reason why I'm here. I actually, before the COVID period, right? And so I decided to leave HP after, traveling was just getting too much. My last year at HP, I traveled enough miles to go from equator to moon and halfway back. 410,000 miles, right? And I was just like, man, this is too much. I did this all from East Coast in the Boston area, and HP is a West Coast company. So I was going to take 2020 off. That was going to be my off year, and I was going to teach. And I said, you know what, I'll just teach for a year, spend time with my boys, drink some Sam Adams. That was the plan. And this is, again, before COVID. All that changed when one of this recruiting firm, gave me a call, told me, so what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm going to teach. I'm not going to go back into the professional world. I've been doing this for a while. And said that, oh, well, so what's your criteria? And I told him 3 criteria. And they said, I want to work for an East Coast headquartered company. I want to work for a boss who I like. And third, I want to work for a company which has got strong culture. And he insisted that I meet this guy, Andy Sunis. Just meet this guy. Just take one meeting because, he fits, he's an East Coast entrepreneur. What can go wrong, Worst case, both you guys can have some Sam Adams together because he's an East Coast entrepreneur. One meeting with Andy in his office, then this was pre-COVID, actually a week before everything shut down. And that's the only Rocketeer I've met, by the way, face-to-face. One 90-minute meeting. I drove home, talked to my wife, and said, I think I'm going to do mainframe. It's a culture of Rocket and what Andy had built. In that 90-minute, he impressed me, and my plans of taking a break went out the door with that one 90-minute meeting with Andy. In the last year, working at Rocket, I've fallen in love with this company, what they stand for, what Andy has built, and the partnership with IBM. I'm in absolute love with this company and the right choice I made.
What was it in that conversation that was so profound that made you say, hey, I'm in?
Yeah, I think it's the core values. The empathy, humanity, trust, and love. And as someone has said, and I actually don't know who actually has said the following phrase, I know culture and core values eat strategy for breakfast. And that was very important. And in every which way, how Andy was describing a company, what is built, right, with the core values of empathy, humanity, trust, and love. and how they're a trusted advisor to customers and partners such as IBM was actually very profound. We didn't talk technology. We actually talked the core values and how it applies to everyday business. And that was a selling point to me, Al.
I believe you. And the reason I believe you is, here at IBM, I managed and had the DB2Z business for some time. And so I worked with Andy directly in many different situations, deals, etc. And I'm staring at some, the people on the phone can't see it, but I got some poker chips. I don't know if you guys still have these poker chips, but these poker chips come from Rocket Software, and on each one of them, it's got a different value. Exceed expectations, trust, empathy, humanity, and love. That's another one. Communicate. I mean, I just thought they're cool. So I have them on my desk. Don't tell Andy. He'll think I'm patting him on the back. I believe it. Andy's a unique character. I did chat with him, I think, during the 30-year anniversary with IBM and Rocket the last time. And we talked a little about everything. By example, personally, is he still playing the guitar? Are you still doing the band thing?
He is. He's playing the guitar. We all Rocketeers gave him a brand new guitar for the 30th anniversary. Now it's 31 years. Yeah. So he still does it. Rocket still has a band. Or Rocket Band is currently playing virtual, but would love to play in person very soon.
So I gotta, the Beatles, right?
Yep.
All right. What Beatle do you think Andy would like the most?
Ooh. I would say, given that he's a guitarist, I would say I actually don't know who was the guitarist for Beatles.
It was it was George Harrison, and you're absolutely right. Nicely done. That's why I like Andy. He's a little bit like most people are going to take Paul or John, but he goes right in. He said no. I mean, like when I asked the question, I remember him just immediately. George Harrison. Really. And then we had this chat, and we went off anyway. He's a good dude, and it doesn't surprise me that going back to culture and core values, eat strategy for breakfast, that seems to embody Rocket. So good work there. What was your experience at, you were the general manager at HP. What were you responsible for again there, and what kind of outcomes did you drive?
Yeah, all of the storage business. So we had so I was responsible for $6 billion of revenue, 6,000 people in the organization, 3,000 directly in my organization, and 3,000 indirectly, the sales function. So all product management, all engineering, all product marketing. So it was a full end-to-end business. I think a good corollary to that would be Dennis Kennelly or the Ed Walsh of the IBM. We competed.
Very good. So look, you jump into Rocket now. Now were you doing mainframe before? Did you have mainframe in your portfolio?
I have never done mainframe ever in my life. This is the first time I'm doing mainframe.
Did it scare you?
Actually, no. I don't think it's a lot of the leadership values I picked from watching other leaders. No, not at all. I think the more I've looked at the mainframe market, the more I look at the mainframe technology, the more I look at the partnerships, the more I look at the hybrid world. I'm actually every day get more excited about it. Then no, it doesn't scare me.
Did you have any hesitation at first?
I did. When I first talked to, I like the company which Andy has built from the core values, right? But the day of the first interview, all the way to, I got very curious, right? Honestly, it's just when the recruiter first called me and they said Rocket, my first initial response was I'm so new to the mainframe. I said, dude, I told you East Coast company, and Rocket Mortgage is in Detroit. I didn't even know Rocket, what the company stood for and everything. No. But look, I did my due diligence I was very curious after I spoke with Andy. I also started looking at Bain Capital and what was their deal thesis on why did they invest in Rocket. I was very curious because Bain Capital is a tier one reputed private equity firm, and they do their due diligence very well. And I had some experience working with them, not with this group. I did my own due diligence about this market, about the space. the technology, and I got comfortable with it. Coming from storage, mission critical is what storage also plays in, and mainframe also plays in mission critical. So I had some familiarity on what to expect, customers' expectations on a mission critical environment are, although coming from a storage background. So this seemed more of adjacency from that standpoint. And what I'd learned over time was also back to the core values, and the partnership values are so important. And so I got comfortable very quickly once I saw the data.
What position did you start in?
I started as the president of the Z business unit. So I managed with the IBM relationship from a product standpoint. So last year I started as the president of the Z business unit. So Andy is and will continue to be associated with Rocket. He is the CEO of the company. Andy had two positions, president and CEO. So a month ago, Andy has given the president responsibility of the entire company to me. So in addition to the Z business unit, now I have the other business units responsibility as well, power as well as database and connectivity business.
Did you have to strong arm him to take that from him, or did he willingly let that go?
So this is what I love about Andy is when I was talking to him, Andy immediately went to, look, you have managed business at scale. You have handled things at scale. Help me with the Z business unit and lead with the Z business unit. And, I will more and more responsibility. He just saw me, for lack of a better word, succeeding him.
Can you repeat the different business units within Rocket?
Yeah, so we have the Z business unit. That is the largest business unit for us by far. The second business unit is the power systems business unit. So we have with the IBM also power relationship, as well as the iCluster and some of the iSeries product. This is perhaps the smallest business unit we have. And the third business unit we have is database and connectivity business unit. The core of it also started with IBM. This was the U2 and multi-value database, which IBM had divested many, many years ago to Rocket. So all three have got IBM lineage, but it's the database and connectivity business, which is the multi-value business. It's the second largest business. Z-Series is the largest business, and power systems is
Can you tell me how large?
66% of the business.
It's fair to say that you weren't a mainframe zealot before, but you're a mainframe zealot now. Yes?
Yes, indeed.
All right, so tell me, what does the new president, how does he comes in, not necessarily a mainframe guy, now is converted. So what is your mission objective at this point in time?
So here's the opportunity I see, whichever business unit it is, whether it's the Z business unit, the power business unit, or the database and connectivity business unit, which now I'm responsible for all three of them. I think of the transformation of these business units and the customers and the journey to hybrid cloud. The one thing which is core to the vision is cloud's not a destination, it is an experience. And what I mean by that is for these technologies, which are mission critical technologies in all the three business units, regardless of what platform they are in, what customers are looking to do is get that cloud-like experience, the experience which was delivered initially by the public cloud, but now done in a hybrid way. So the opportunity here is using AI and machine learning technologies to make the experience simplified. We working with IBM, we have the best data collectors. AI and machine learning is just as good as the data you collect. So we have that advantage. And now how do we transpose or transform that advantage into easier to use, easier to deploy workload, and connect to all kinds of cloud? That opportunity to me is mind-boggling.
So clearly you're partnering directly with IBM in that endeavor, I presume, because your strategy sounds very similar to IBM's strategy.
That is indeed correct. And I think that's the market trend, which both IBM as well as through IBM's partnership, Rocket Software is uniquely positioned to deliver to our customers.
I love the phrase, legacy power is legendary. The only concern sometimes I have is the word legacy. Sometimes the word legacy implies, antiquated, old. And that's not what I see when I look at the Z business. In fact, in IBM, if anybody looked at our press release after Q1, Z sales was up nearly 50%.
Yeah.
As clients were turning into Z15 for cloud native development.
Yeah.
Are you seeing this same and similar growth?
We are, and you know what I like about the space, and I'll double click on my excitement about this space and the even the word legacy and how I see it. So hybrid is a new phrase, right? One of the things which COVID has taught us, the world economy can come crashing if there is a single point of failure in supply chain, single point of failure. That little canal called Suez Canal can just bring everything down, right? And so, and people who didn't even know how to pronounce Suez now know what Suez Canal is, and they didn't even know it existed, right? And so when you think about what COVID has taught us, how much of our world economy and how much of us, what do we do day to day, how much of it single point of failures do affect. Let's fast forward and let's just look at things which are happening in the cybersecurity and the cyber world, right? And let's just a hypothetical situation, right? What happens if one of the public cloud providers, whether it's AWS or whether it's Microsoft, have an outage for a month?
Disaster, business go down.
We're going to be in COVID 2021.
Yes.
And
we recover from that at this point.
Exactly, right, exactly. So the more advanced CIOs and chief risk officers are kind of thinking that, hold on a second, we have to make sure that the business critical applications are in the data centers or co-located, and that's why it's not about the destination, right? We'll use public cloud services, we use IBM Cloud and everything as well. But there is something to be said about system of records, as you mentioned, DB2, right? System of records being in the data center, how do you prevent yourself from cyber proof? You cannot have a single point of failure. You need to have data centers. You need to have perhaps reliable platforms such as mainframe in your shops, co-located and hybrid. So the data stays where the data is, and the apps can be anywhere. So apps can be tolerant from a failure, but when it comes to the data and the business running, you need to go back to the fundamentals. Right, and I actually think the growth of the last quarter you mentioned, I think we're going to see a resurgence of what would have been called the legacy platform or a traditional platform, is because your security against the cyber is going to be running a hybrid data center. And to run a hybrid data center, you cannot rely on public. Public cloud's definition of hybrid is just that more of their capabilities in the private data center, right? I actually think the legacy platforms or the platforms which were considered tried and proven platforms are going to do a comeback. And the comeback, as long as these platforms have got hybrid capabilities in terms of workload movements, data movements, system of record, I think we're going to see a resurgence of a hybrid platform. And this is against prevention of single point of failure against cyber.
So to restate that, basically what you're saying, if I understand, look, the Z system is almost like a cloud in and of itself. If you look at it from that perspective, it could be on-prem or otherwise. But you're saying, look, that will be used in concert with, maybe public cloud or otherwise, but it'll be a hybrid solution.
Absolutely.
Is that one of the questions I was going to ask you? I'm now doing all services for cloud and data platform, and the key word is always modernization. What does modernization mean in the Z world?
Ability to manage infrastructure using modern tools. That's one aspect of modernization. Ability to be and do infrastructure management and system management in an open way. I think the open mainframe project is very fundamental. So it's not the administration, operations, runbook, and all are using modern tools. Modern technologies such as machine learning and AI, and in a very open way is going to be what that modernization means. And when you do that, right, all your modern stacks also run, right? MongoDB running on mainframes. It can also run on public cloud, as an example. DB2 continues to accelerate and be the system of record. So all those things will continue, but now your access of that is using modern tools and using modern principles and technology set. that's what will make this infrastructure, I think, relevant for the future as well.
So when I led the Z business, I have to tell you, I knew Z was good, but my eyes were even opened even wider when I led that business. I grew up in the data world, fault tolerance, everything you talked about earlier. It sounds like you're kind of there from the storage perspective. But I do know, let's just call it like it is, because I want your answer here. There are some customers that think, oh, Z is legacy, I need to make the move. What do you say to those clients?
There will be customers who will think that. What I tell the customer is that, look, run your application, pick your application, pick your infrastructure, either on Z or the cloud. I would argue that cloud is a mainframe on legacy, right? Because it's completely opaque to them. They have no idea what is backing or what runs on it, right? It's the experience, how they connect to it. And if they look at the current Z environment, they won't see a difference. You won't see a difference if MongoDB is running on a public cloud or Z. If anything, you will see why is it running faster on Z? It's if you
nothing but improvement is what you're trying to say.
What I'll tell the customer, right? It's the old, if you remember the Pepsi and Coke test, right? Don't see what's out there in the back end, but if you show the experience between the Z and the public cloud, regardless of what the public cloud or even IBM cloud, from an app standpoint or from a user standpoint, they won't see a difference anymore. There's so much modernization which has already happened on Z. I don't think I'll see a difference. And by the way, I did this myself when I was in my first contact with Andy was in February, and I joined in May, and in between I was doing some work just to do that. I ran an app on AWS, and I ran it was a small Hello World app, and I ran an app on IBM Cloud, and I ran an app on one of the LPARs, which was given to me by the Open Mainframe project team.
Yeah.
Honestly, as an app developer, I couldn't tell the difference if I was not predisposed to what it was. That was one of the confidence builder for me, regardless of the data, which Bain Capital and the others had shared, as that, man, a secure platform like Z and the experience, and that's why I said cloud is an experience, not a destination. And from an app developer standpoint or an infrastructure manager standpoint, if we make that experience seamless, I think we'll see resurgence.
Well, let me ask you this. What does Rocket do that no one else can do?
So three things, right? One of our tight partnerships and relationship with IBM around the data collectors, contributions to the Open Mainframe project, and investment we're doing on the experience side of things. Modernizing the experience is something which we have invested, or just before I came on board, investment was going on, and I've double-clicked and triple-clicked on that. And the knowledge, your AI and machine learning is just as good as your whatever data you have, and also the people. You still need the people to deliver that experience. So combination of investment in the experience, the strong data collectors from all the partnership we had with IBM over the last 31 years, and the core values. Those are unique, even in the mainframe market.
Look, from my experience, like I said, I'd say some of the people are the smartest people I know. So kudos to those that are listening out there. What's been your biggest surprise in taking this role?
I'll give a positive surprise and a negative surprise to keep it a very balanced way.
All right, let's hear the balance.
The positive surprise has been that how much of the modern tool chain, if you call the contemporary tool chain, runs on mainframe seamlessly. Very surprised. From Linux to all of the Pythons and all the tool chain which I was used to in my storage world just works seamlessly, actually. And that was a very positive surprise, because I thought I'm going to have like assembler engineers and assembly code and everything. Honestly, my assembly team is probably perhaps the smallest team. Most of my team are Metal C, C++, Java. That was a very big surprise, very big positive surprise. So it could be used AI, machine learning, packaged algorithms and everything. That was a very good positive surprise. It's that it was not as much tied to the machine as I thought it was going to be. That was a very positive surprise. The negative surprise was, man, mainframe customers don't like to upgrade.
Probably true.
I was just like, when I talk to customers, so I get saying, hey, you got this DB212, and with this DB212, and we have this machine learning, we can tell you when to reorganize the data and when to do it. And they're like, yeah, that's all great, but we're on DB211. I was like, oh, when did DB212 come out? Like, well over a year ago, but But the resistance to upgrade is something which was a surprise about the industry.
Why do you think that is? Why is it still so core in the dynamic world we live in today?
I can only hypothesize. I think one bad experience in upgrade, right? Whatever may have happened like 5-10 years ago, that's probably one reason. The second reason is probably skills issue, is that if the upgrade goes bad, they're just worried that do they have the people in their IT staff who can just, recover it. So it's fear, not reality. I think that's kind of what my impression is in the last year.
These systems aren't used for sandboxes. These are mission critical. The whole business goes down if there's like a glitch. I don't know that rightfully is the word, because I would like to see them upgrade and they could take advantage of a lot of feature and function, particularly if they're looking at, modernizing, quote unquote, and then they're not upgrading. It doesn't make any sense. Trepidation, I think, is in just the mission critical. They like their weekends and to be able to play golf on the weekends, right? You said that you were skilled. I mean, you're trained in ML and AI. Are you using that in your new role?
I am. I'm using that in the new role. My PhD is in AI and ML. As I look at the opportunities in applying AI and ML into the modernization framework, there is a lot of opportunities which will simplify the even including the confidence to upgrade and the others. So there are lots of algorithms in AI and ML which can be used. And this is where, right, these AI and ML algorithms are as good as the data which gets in there. But when I look at the data collectors we have, whether it's the Omega-1 suites or the RMF and all these mainframe technologies, right, we got so much data that running AI and ML algorithm is like a kid's play. And that was I ran some of the packaged algorithms from my old days, and they just like give insights like so quickly and so impressively that it's especially in the monitoring and performance. You can make some decisions like when do you reorganize, when do you back up, when do you restore, what do you restore. Those are some of these like very simple questions which probably took a lot of sysprocs and stuff to figure out. We could actually do it very seamlessly and easily, and that's something which we are heavily investing in.
All right, look, you guys are also moving, and you guys are shakers and movers, and you're acquiring, at least I know of two companies. One is ASG?
Yep.
One. And I think the one that's already done is Uniface?
Yep.
So tell me, what's your thought process there?
Yeah, so look, and these are not going to be the only two. We are going to be an acquisitive company in the mission critical and the legacy space. So as you can see, right, our values we're committed to our customers, right? The latest acquisition announcement is essentially to grow our portfolio of the enterprise software space. And Uniface with their technology sets in low code and no code are all in the mission critical space. So we actually are expanding in making sure that we double down on mission critical and legacy components, which gives us scale to go be trusted supplier for all mission critical and legacy platforms. And to do that, we have to constantly invent and reinvent ourselves. And Uniface and ASG are just the two, which we have publicly announced. Bain Capitals has got aggressive commitments for growth. And most of that growth is going to come from strong partnership with IBM and organic, but also inorganic, such as ASG and Uniface.
Do you have a division of business development that is targeting some of these acquisitions, or is that separate, or is Bain driving that, or how does that work?
So it's all driven from our BU and Andy. So organizationally, we have an acquisition roadmap, and all you can think of in our acquisition roadmap, companies which are mission critical software supplier in enterprise space, as well as legacy or mainframe space are very important. We have a framework, and the framework is the following. Without giving the entire roadmap, I'll say, so we have core infrastructure at the bottom of the framework. We have a 7-layer stack, and there is an security layer. So companies which are in the core infrastructure layer, companies which are in the security layer, companies which are in the open, companies which are in app dev, and companies which are in hybrid cloud. So that's our 7-layer stack. So that's how we define our roadmap. That's how we define our acquisition strategy. So in many of the 7 vectors, as long as they're enterprise software and mission critical and legacy, we see an opportunity, we will execute on it.
What does Uniface bring, or how does it complement Rocket? And then why is ASG next in line?
Uniface is in the database and connectivity business unit. So still in my new role in my review, that database and connectivity business, it's an ISV-led business which sells into retail and clients where multi-value database is very important. What Uniface brings it brings an low-code application development platform. So back to cloud is not a destination, cloud is an experience. What Uniface brings to our database and connectivity business unit is a development platform who can use the multi-value database in a very simple experience way. So it's about the app dev for multi-value database and connectivity business. ASG has got a rich portfolio. It expands our reach beyond the traditional mainframe and has got capabilities in content management. So one of the platforms of ASG is Mobius, which is a content management which is deployed on mainframes as well as on distributed, but most of the business is on the mainframe. So now you can think of us, Al, right? It's end-to-end stack. Rocket provides DB2 utilities and tools all the way up to the content management sitting on the platform, right? So it's moving up the stack from that layer cake as well, the 7-layer of technology architecture, which I mentioned.
What's your vision as president moving forward to capitalize on everything you've said?
On the system of record, which sits on the mainframe, delivering an cloud-like experience using AI and machine learning and getting the data insights are core part of our vision. It's the making it simpler to operate, use mainframe and technologies on mainframe, but more importantly, click of a button, get insights into the data sets on your system of record is where we are going to, that's the vision.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about you, if you don't mind, just as we close out. But is there anything that was not asked or was not stated? Did we miss anything either on Rocket or your new role as president? Or
a couple of things which I had lessons learned in my career or...
well, let's talk about that now. Let's jump into lessons if you're ready. You ready?
Or yeah, we could go through the top 2, yeah.
Well, this will be for your team. What's the absolute best thing that you found about it? It could be anything.
Collaborative folks in my organization and collaboration not only within Rocket, but also across to IBM is the best thing I've seen. It's really refreshing.
All right, what's the worst thing? What do you wake up every day and go, we shouldn't have to deal with that?
Wish we could deliver AI capabilities faster. I had this back at Sun Microsystem. One of the quotes from a person I looked at through my career is, he had this saying, he said, technology has a shelf life of a banana. But if you don't do something about it, it does ripe and gets rotten. And so the worst thing I just see sometimes is how do you accelerate? How do you bring AI capabilities faster?
Yeah. So just like a president, you just want everything faster. I get the same. I have the same disorder. I got it. I get it. It's just how can we get it? How can we get it as fast as possible? Look, you're in a very influential position. How big is Rocket these days, by the way?
We are about 1,500 people before ASG acquisition. And so ASG is going to add, the deal is not, we have announced it, but the deal is not closed yet. But that's going to increase our size even more significantly.
Nice. So what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership is a way in which one chooses to live their life. So there is no on and off button, right? Leadership is not a professional. It embodies both professional and personal, genuine, authentic, and thoughtful to not only oneself, to their family members, to the friends, their employees, customers, and partners. So I think of leadership as it's a way one chooses to live their life, and personal and professional, they're all connected. That's something core and near and dear, and going to the Rocket values, synergetic in how I was thinking about this.
Do you have somebody that's not related to you that's inspired you?
So professionally, I'll put them in three buckets on where my inspiration came in. One, coming from grad school, it was always like technology, fast innovation, and everything, right? I was always inspired by what Sun Microsystems did, Java, Solaris, NFS, which powered the storage industry, right? How could they invent so fast? So the first category of people like Scott McNealy, who was the CEO, founder CEO, on what they did for technology and fast learning was very inspiring. The second bucket has been around operating at scale. I was very inspired by what Lou Gerstner and Jack Welch did to their respective companies, right? Then how do you run business at scale? One of the phrases I think was, you don't get what you expect, but you get what you inspect. And the metrics, which both Lou and Jack Welch did, was inspiring, right? Because if you look at Sun Microsystems, right, that company didn't last that long, but they were really fast innovators. But operating at scale, I learned a lot there. And then how do you build long-lasting companies, right? Folks like Warren Buffett who have built very long-lasting companies. And folks like, now when I compare that, right, building long-lasting companies is hard. And I think just watching and seeing Warren Buffett has done, and now also seeing very closely what Andy Unis has done is inspiring.
Oh, it's back to Andy again. He'll love that. I'm going to answer this as well because I know I was recently asked the other day what leadership meant. Look, I don't know if you read any John Maxwell, but he says leadership equals influence, nothing more, nothing less, which I do believe in. I agree, but then you got to drill down on that. My personal mission, my team was asking me this the other day, is to be an inspiring coach to make the next generation jump higher. But I think leaders need to have clarity of vision, the right leaders, and reward and recognition. And then tactically, the leaders I look for, and my team knows this, is one, those that can influence, as aforementioned, skills, ability to execute. And then the three of my favorite questions just to assess how things are going is one, very simply, I see who's giving me energy versus who takes it away. That's number one. Number two is, very simply, I mean, this is a common question, is if I walked out of here, who would I take with me? And third, and I think this is the most critical one, is who demonstrates their mind can change. That is a sign of true leadership, vulnerability with the ability to change your mind versus trying to force something through and keep pushing it just because it's you don't want to be proven wrong. Anyway, I don't know what you think of that, but that's my definition. Look, it's been great having you on. I greatly appreciate it. Is there any books, by the way, before we leave, that you would recommend? Any good reads?
I don't know if I've recently read The Alchemist by Pablo. I cannot pronounce his last name, but I read the book. I've read it like now 6 times. And
6 times? It must be a good one. Is that the one? Is that your go-to recommendation?
For now, yes, that's my latest go-to recommendation. It's translated book. I think it was written first in Spanish or Latin, and then it's been translated to English. But it's a really good book, Alchemist.
Alchemist, I think it's Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
All right, that's your number one recommendation, huh?
Yeah.
Well, look, say hi to Andy for me. I miss chatting with him, and we should have brought you both on. But this is good. Then we can talk about him. So this is even better. No harm there. So thank you for being on. I greatly appreciate it, Milan. It's been good, been informational. I wish you the utmost success in the new role. But in terms of what I've heard and what I know about Andy, you guys are going to be ultra successful.
Awesome. Thanks, Al, for having me on this podcast, and looking forward to working with you and the rest of IBMers.
Sounds great. Thank you again. And for our listeners, as always, a huge thank you. And a thank you to our producers, Kate Main and Steve Templeton. They do a fantastic job. If you'd like to give us feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Please hit us on almartintalksdata@gmail.com. Until then, we'll see you on the podcast. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Making Data Simple podcast, where we make data fun. Be sure to visit IBMBigDataHub.com/podcast to access the show notes and uncover even more great episodes. Remember, the views expressed here are those of the host and its guests, and do not necessarily represent the views of IBM. Until next time,
Let's go.
over and out.